Hey gang, thanks for coming back, and I've got some interesting news that I think you're going to want to hear. So some interesting information may have just leaked about Sony, and No Man's Sky is kind of loosely related to this, but there's some very relevant information that I think we can make some legitimate arguments about why No Man's Sky is a really good games as a service. Now, I know games as a service is a hot button issue these days, especially regarding continuity, microtransactions, stuff like that. And interesting, we get a little bit of a look under the hood on what kind of sales numbers, or at least population, we have for No Man's Sky on the PlayStation 4 platform. So let's take a look at Forbes. Checking in on your boy Paul Tassi, who's been reporting on No Man's Sky since basically launch and before. From Forbes, Sony may have just accidentally revealed the player counts of every PS4 game, and so is pretty relevant information for those of you who want to know how your favorite games are doing on the platform, and it's certainly information that Sony does not want you to have. So let's figure out how this works. This was discovered on Reddit to be a gateway to calculating the player counts and sales of almost every PlayStation 4 game to some reasonable degree of certainty. So how does it work? The My PS4 Life system will give you specific player numbers about an achievement or trophy. The example from the original thread is that My PS4 Life says that 33,764 players earned the Photo Bomber trophy in Fallout 76, and has always been the case. You can look up what percentage of players have earned that trophy on PlayStation Network. In this case, that's 8.3%. Those two figures are enough to get you to the conclusion that 406,795 players have played Fallout 76 on PlayStation 4. Those are some rough numbers. If these figures are remotely accurate, that's a big problem for Sony, because many of the companies don't want their player and potential sales data shared publicly like this. In Fallout 76's case, for instance, that 400K number is pretty low. Painfully low, especially when compared to the likes of other games whose players have been calculated using the same method, like Black Ops 4 having 9 million players, Red Dead Redemption 2 having 6 million. That's a little low for a Red Dead, isn't it? Detroit Become Human at 2.4 million, and Mass Effect Andromeda at 2.2 million. The implication here is that negative reviews and buzz have been very bad for Fallout 76's sales, which is obviously a narrative Bethesda doesn't want circulating. This may be somewhat misleading, however, as it's unclear how current data is. Games that were more recently released in, say, November, like Fallout, may still be a few weeks behind in this data. Also, some of these player counts would not directly translate to sales in every case if a game has been free on PS Plus. So firstly, Fallout 76. Damn. But to be fair, those numbers might be a little bit late. The game has only been out for, a little more than a month. So if we're being objective, I guess that's to its credit. But I often see Fallout 76 and No Man's Sky compared in the same camp as both having disastrous launch, having misleading or bad info or lie info or dishonest info leading up to the launch. But yet, I think looking at the situation here, I think maybe we can learn a couple of things from this. So why don't we just kind of scroll down and see. Oh, so that's surprising. No Man's Sky has had almost 4 million unique players over its life cycles, it's just over 2.5 years. No Man's Sky is also not free on PlayStation Plus, so that's some pretty illuminating numbers. Now, of course, that does not count Xbox or Steam, but that gives a good idea of how many people actually bought No Man's Sky and played it. And so I'm assuming that's information getting from numbers that have been connected to PlayStation Network. So that obviously excludes people who are still, for some reason, playing 1.0 on dial-up, and they don't update their game. So, yeah, to each their own. But it also doesn't help parse the difference between digital sales and physical sales, because we know digital is still costing $60, whereas your physical copies of the game are out in the wild for as little as $20. So that really doesn't speak too heavily about the profits that No Man's Sky has made on this game. But if we look at public-facing websites that Hello Games is supposed to report their profits to, as of January of 2018, yes, nearly a year ago, it was reported that Hello Games had about $30 million. I'm sorry, 30 million quid. I don't know what a quid is. What's a quid? Is it stronger than the dollar? So that's already a lot of cheese to be carrying around in your bank account, and that ensures No Man's Sky can probably be supported for God knows forever. And of course, looking to see maybe some additional games like The Last Campfire coming out of the Hello Games studio. So that's pretty neat. That number also doesn't account for whatever sales have came from the launch of the next update, the launch of No Man's Sky on the Xbox platform, and the launch of No Man's Sky on the Chinese platform Tencent. So I'm pretty interested to see what that bankroll looks like in the beginning of 2019. So you're probably asking, Legacy, why the hell are we talking about sales numbers and player numbers and profits for No Man's Sky? This game was a trash fire at launch, and I should be angry and cynical about this game. And I still see quite a few Twitter and YouTube people jumping on this game for no good reason other than it's fun. But at the same time, I think a good argument can be made for No Man's Sky in the regards of games as a service. Games as a service has been a huge point of contention for, gosh, I don't know how many years now, when it comes to continuity, microtransaction costs, loot boxes, and things like that. Why is No Man's Sky being brought up in this conversation by yours truly? See, nobody has ever defined No Man's Sky as a games as a service that I can ever recall, especially not Hello Games. So why am I bringing it up? Because No Man's Sky has been supported for free for 2.5 years now, regardless of the shape that it launched in, but continues to sell the game at a halfway decent price, anywhere between $30 to $60, depending on where you get it from. See, a common point I hear about No Man's Sky is contention about the price. Now, the good news is that I'm glad that no one individual gets to dictate what value somebody else's product should be. So somebody coming straight out and saying this game should not have been $60, that is the most subjective thing ever. But to make a point about the price tag for No Man's Sky, we've received consistent, well, I don't know why, consistent's a really bad word actually, I'll take that back, regular updates, even more so this year than last, to keep No Man's Sky fresh, new, and gigantic updates that basically change the game almost entirely, like the next update. But the key factor here is that Hello Games have never once asked for another dime of your money past the gateway to entry price. So while we're all having these discussions about microtransactions and how they're bad, and how loot boxes are bad, and how subscription fees are bad, and yada yada, Hello Games is over here in the corner going, well, hey, you just got to pay one price for mine, and that's that. Now, that doesn't take away from the possibility that they could charge for some kind of update in the future. They've hinted at it in the past. I'm not entirely against them charging for some kind of update or content if I feel they have earned that and they put some value behind the content and it doesn't split the player base. That's my biggest thing. I'm not against microtransaction. I think it's kind of irritating to see the internet consistently complaining about microtransactions when we see a lot of games like Halo 5 and Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch providing free content updates basically with characters and with multiplayer maps. Like, if you're not splitting the player base to some gigantic fashion, I'm not entirely against that. Loot boxes, we can definitely have an argument for that, but that shit's basically gambling. But the major point is No Man's Sky has been a games as a service this entire time, but I've never once paid more than $60 for it. I own it on two platforms, both the PlayStation and the PC. I think I might have got it actually for like half off during a Steam sale or something. But even still, I think that's a good point to be made. So what do y'all think, folks? Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you think about No Man's Sky's player counts on PlayStation 4. 4 million unique players. What do you think about microtransactions and No Man's Sky as a games as a service, finger quotes? And of course, if you thought this video was informational and you liked it, blah, 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 please do like, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever it is that you fancy, and please come hang out in the future. See y'all later.